Popped in.
Oh, hi guys.
Hey, there they are.
No, I
Oh,
have
we
a
were just
voice.
having a conversation, so
We are. Hi, everyone. Um, Give me a second to find us on Substack so I can look at the chat and be able to know what y'all are saying. And I hate Substack. Well, as much as I love it.
mm,
Um, so anyway, I have Marlon. Okay, so let me back up for a second. You all know me from Freedom Over Fascism, and I've been on Banner Backbone with Nick, and I've been on Gen Xu with Lawrence and Dana, and I'm on the Sick of This Shit with Nick for a chronic illness. And and now I thought that I was gonna try to do this thing live twice a week. So Tuesday and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to come on here, have the same kinds of conversations I had just as a Freedom Over Fascism podcast. And you'll be able to participate if I can find us on the Substack app, which I'm really kind of hoping I can, um, so that I can. Oh, here we go. Oh, oh. So that I can. Uh, see the chat because I'm bad at chat and I'll figure it out. So anyway, today we have Marlon Weems, who you probably know. Welcome to Freedom Over Fascism.
thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. I think we have a lot to talk about. So let me do a quick intro. There's Nick. Um, uh, so um, So as I said, you'll get the video of this, right away, and then I will make it into audio and put it out there for the people who listen to the podcast to have. So Marlon is a writer and a publisher of The Journeyman, a newsletter that explores the intersection of the economy, politics, and anti-Black racism. He spent more than a decade of his 30-year finance career on Wall Street, which I want to hear about how someone from Wall Street got to Substack.
Okay.
He managed several electronic trading businesses. I also hope that you can explain crypto to me as if I were five, but we can move on. After leaving the financial services industry, he began his writing career as fintech subject matter expert, providing insights on capital markets to global investment banking clients. These days, you can find him writing from his home on a North Carolina island, and that came from your LinkedIn. So I want to ask you um, how a guy who was on Wall Street for decades made his way to Substack to be talking about, yes, finance, but also everything else.
So, so actually, I guess if we're talking about decades, I was born and raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, and that is actually where I started in finance. And at the risk of making myself seem ancient, that was in the early 1980s. And at the time, I was one of four Black people in, in what we used to call the bond business, because at that time, the bond business was the place to be, not the stock market, which there wasn't a whole lot going on, not like now. And, I had flunked out of college, and back in those days, you could just look in the classifieds and find a job. And I started off as a salesman for this little ad company, and then long story shorter, that sort of it was total serendipity. I had a neighbor that was in the securities business, and he said, "If you can sell that shit, you need to be you need to be working for me." And so, um, fast forward, I guess about 10 years, I got a job at a real investment firm, and I was there for 10 years, and then I started my own investment firm, which was the first Black-owned investment firm in Arkansas. Which sounds great, but what, but wasn't let's just say there were no red carpets rolled out. I was not
Imagine.
feted or anything like that. It was like, get this guy out of here. Um,
Mhm.
and so that lasted for 5 years, and then I just sort of threw a Hail Mary and landed uh, on Wall Street at the time. Um, what was the largest black-owned investment firm on Wall Street, and so yada yada yada. 10 years later, financial crisis, and my wife said something like, "If there's one more thing, we're out of here," and that was the one more thing because I went, internet bubble, 9/11, all you name it, and so I moved to North Carolina in 2012, and one of the people have a real, I think, misconception about sort of how what happens on trading desks, and so a lot of it is just kind of sitting there like this because everything is so electronic. You sort of set the stage and then just sit back and make sure everything is doing what you told it. Um, but the other part of it is you have to spend a whole lot of time knowing what's going on as far as the global economy, right?
Right.
So that means every kind of BLS number, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and all the other, sort of tertiary stuff. And you just on a dime need to a sort of know what all that stuff means, but have an opinion
Mhm.
because whoever you're talking to, they may not even agree with you, but if you don't even have an opinion, they're not talking to you. So after I left, having built a desk that was fully electronic and used a lot of algorithms and whatnot. And this is, pardon me, we're talking about 2012 now. Um, I connected with this research firm that I had actually been a consumer of their research, and it was not like, should you buy or sell Walmart as much as what is the lay of the land in financial technology and capital markets. And so I started writing for them. And the whole subject matter expert only meant that I had done it before.
Right.
So
Like the professor with the practice.
yeah, I mean, I had so when I would write about stuff, it was credible because I could say, "Hey, I've used this system, and here's what's good and what's bad about it," that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And so I did that up until COVID, and because of COVID, it just disrupted the whole necessity for that stuff. And so I was sort of a writer without a platform, which was okay because I also started to feel like one of these lobbyists that tell you cigarettes are good for you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
if Charles Schwab hired us to write this report, these guys would then contract me to actually do it. I'd turn in my view and they'd come back and say, "This is great, but it's kind of tough. I mean, given who's paying us, so maybe you could tone it down a little."
Right, right. I started my career in PR and,
Okay.
so I know that one of my clients at some point was like the oil packs, and that's when I got out.
Yeah.
But, another was, God, this was in '95, so it was a long time ago, but I was trying to, get something placed in some I don't know if it was North Carolina, someone somewhere deep in not me, I was in San Francisco, said, "Honey, no finance, no romance. If you're not gonna pay me, I'm not gonna write it." "Okay. That's how this goes," I said.
Well, it's and I enjoyed doing a lot of that work because it allowed me to um learn how to write white papers, but also, I learned um sort of their way of doing research was um, yeah, we might have an opinion, but let's talk to 15 people who are in the know and then take that and, sort of mix it with, what our thought is as a company. And then that it makes kind of an interesting um, product. And so when I first, if you go back and look at some of the early stuff I did, it was like, why bailing out the auto industry is bad, which, is enjoyable, but it's not nearly as interesting as some of my more rant focused stuff now.
Sometimes rants, I
Well, I
started
always
to
start off
back
with a rant and then I get to the point.
rants. Seriously, I did the podcast for years, and then I just, like, spit out a rant, and that got so much more attention. I just
Well, people can identify with it, and it's probably something a whole lot of folks think about, but they're not necessarily inclined to write it down. Now, I'll tell you something funny. When, I said I started the Journeyman during COVID, and the way that it started, I'd had a couple of friends. Um, so I have this sort of little group of guys that we all work together at some point, um, mostly guys that I had hired on my trading desk. They're all black, and they don't know that I call them this because I don't think any of them are on Substack, but I call them, the Society of Black Ex Traders because it's a small group, right? And a couple of them had told me, "Hey, you should write a newsletter or something," because they would call me and say, "Hey, what do you think about XYZ news?" And I have a lot to say. Um, when COVID happened, I had a lot to say in the form of shouting at my television because we couldn't go anywhere. And my wife would say, "You should write that down." I did not pick up on the fact that that was her very nice way of saying, "Would you shut up? We're trying to watch TV, man."
okay, yeah.
And I would say, "Oh, he's wrong. That's this," and I would do that kind of thing. So yeah.
So that brings us to kind of where I wanna talk about, uh, Substack a bit. I mean, it's grown substantially since I've been on for a couple of years. You've been on for longer. Mostly starting in the last 6 months, and I noticed in April, I was asked to give a talk about how to make it on Substack, and those were, like, the 3 weeks that Jim Acosta and Joy Reid and Katie, Fang and, all of those people, were coming over to Substack, and that changed the dynamic enormously, So I was talking about, yeah, there are big fish like Heather Clock-Richardson, and then there are the medium fish, and then there are little ones, and blah, blah, blah. But now, you got these big fish that are getting money from Substack, money from, uh, people, paid subscriptions, possibly, I don't know who is sponsoring them and what kind of staff they have. And so for us little folk who are like, "Hey, I'm got something to say and I'm doing it all on my own," it's kind of not a playing field that makes any
Kind
sense.
of reminds you of like the real world, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it
So,
does.
so you said something interesting that I have suspected but hadn't been able to pin down that Substack was giving them money. Could you talk about that a little more?
I don't know very much. Um, I I think that this is not based in any degree of fact or
Sure.
substantiated anything. So that's my disclaimer. That Substack went to them and said, "Hey, we'll give you this much money, maybe staff, maybe extra features that the rest of people don't get if you'll come here instead of going somewhere else."
Hmm. So
So
I know that I can't think of his name. It's escaping me. Um, but big TikTok guy, and he supposedly won. Well, he won this contest of some sort that Substack had that somehow I didn't know anything about. Well, it wouldn't have even applied to me because it was to get people from TikTok to relocate to Substack, and this is back in January when there was this, maybe TikTok shut down for like, half a minute. And this guy got 25 grand. And it just so happened, That his dad is a fair, and I don't know why the name's escaping me. Parnas,
Oh,
Aaron Parnas,
artists, yeah.
and you know who his dad is. So it's just kind of kind of funny that that would happen that way. But
Although I
this,
have to say he's one of the ones
oh,
producing
I
some of the
don't
best
look.
content.
Just so we're clear, I don't begrudge anybody taking money for what they do. I don't even begrudge the Jim Acostas, Joy Donlin, because I actually like all those people. Um, my beef, if there is one, um, I'm not even sure I'm mad at Substack as much as mad's the wrong word. Um, but I am kind of worked up about the fact that as subscribers, those are the people that we left, right? What those are the people we said that they're, traditional media and we don't like we want something new. And all they've kind of done is just taken off one jacket and put on another one, right? So so here's my thing. And I actually wrote something about this, and there's something sort of a follow-up I'm doing. But let's talk about the resources. I was having a conversation just the other day, and I know for a fact, I can tell you and this is public. Substack gave Iglesias several years ago.
He's one of
Um,
my absolute,
so this is probably, well, I think it was before I came here, and I've been here 5 years. They gave him something like $250,000. He's admitted this. Yeah.
wow.
And see, I know a lot of people don't know this. Well, I shouldn't say they gave it to him. Here's how it was structured. It was in advance against future, paid subscribers. Um, and there's several other people that that are maybe lesser known than him. That they got. Pardon me. I live in North Carolina, and you can't open your windows right now because there's something unseen floating around. Hopefully, it's not the government, right? but but no, there are a lot of folks that for a minute they were doing these six-figure deals, and that's kind of how they were structured. And then even before that, um, when all the journalistic layoffs were happening, they were breaking off guys, 10, 20, $30,000 just to land, to come on Substack, which I thought was cool because this was originally marketed as a place for folks like me and you who wanted to write and just didn't have a place to do it. You come here and sort of build something. And that has turned into, if you've already built something, come here and we'll fix you up. Um my my problem is and I'm going to take myself out of it. I'm going to say folks like you, I can name off 2 dozen people that are just great writers and they make great videos and they do stuff like this. And if not for me and you and the rest of us, we would be unknown. Substack could care less about us, really. I mean, they have deigned to give us, these capabilities, and that's what keeps us here too. Because if we leave, you got to do 5 different things to write a newsletter,
Well, that's why I came
do
because it
all the,
was a free
this is
newsletter.
why I'm here. Because I was on Twitter and you just couldn't Twitter's hard to monetize, and even worse now that it's X.
It's
So
a couple of years ago, but yeah.
yeah, but so when they started Notes, I immediately ditched Twitter and came here, and then the rest as it's evolved, it is very difficult for me to, because I, I have a thing. This is all trader stuff. There's such a thing as the cleanest dirty shirt.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's what this is. If you're talking, if a bunch of traders were talking about the social media, ecosystem, this is the cleanest dirty shirt. They're all dirty, but you got to wear one, and
Right.
so this one is the one.
Yeah. Somebody just actually subscribed to for paid because they refused to and this is someone I know of, they refuse to pay Substack anything. So they stopped giving me
I have
additional
had a few
$35.
folks, and I suspect that is affected, folks that, I mean, I've got more than 14,000 followers, less, or is it less or fewer? I think fewer than 3% are paid subscribers. That's,
My ratio is much bigger or smaller. I don't know which.
well, I mean, it's going to vary just based on a number of things, but still, it's, hey, I appreciate it, and I love the folks that are able and willing to provide that kind of support. But um, okay, so I had a conversation like this. You see how you've stirred me up, right? I had a conversation like this, alive with a guy named Egberto Willis.
Oh yeah.
So, if you know him, he's a great guy. He is one of the hardest working guys on Substack because he was big on YouTube before he came here, and we were talking about just this. So, after the conversation, somebody from Substack actually reached out on Notes to me, and um, because I had, I guess, posted the video and I said something about Substack paying people, and this person denied it. And I'm like, how everybody knows this, right? And I think she was trying to reject the implication that, Joy, Reed, Jim, those guys had gotten any kind of money. This is the person whose job it is to recruit people like that here. And so, we kind of had a back and forth. And I mean, but there was never an offer to say, here's how we can help you guys in a similar way. And you know what? The offer was, hey, we're going to have another party like the one we had that you didn't get invited to last year. But you can be at our table for that. And I'm just going, what are you doing? So yeah, it's okay. All that to say though, and to me, this is what I sort of my takeaway that I've been thinking about. Um, there's such a thing as proof of concept, right? And when you look at what has just happened with the free press, this is a person who I don't particularly care for their politics and all of that. But just looking at it on the numbers, this is a person who came here, okay, got paid, all that. And there's a longer story behind what's behind the success of that
Been around
platform.
for a long time.
Well, Mark Andreessen has been behind Substack from the beginning. He also personally invested in the free press. I don't know if you knew that.
No, he also hired my stepbrother to be his personal chef for a while.
Wow. Okay. That I bet that's interesting.
So
But I'm just saying, so there was a lot of effort to ensure that the free press would succeed, not the least of which was Substack entering into a partnership with the free press to provide enterprise, something, whatever that was. They didn't really describe it a whole lot, but they gave Barry Weiss all the tools to build a legit newsroom. I don't know how many people, were involved, but, you know, so in lieu of money, there were a lot of things done there. So now, boom, it's taken off and somebody paid 150,000, I'm sorry, million. It's hard for me to say that for that platform. Now we can debate on whether it was worth it or not. I don't think it was. I think there's a whole lot of goodwill built into that because, Barry Weiss is saying all the stuff they want to need her to say. And now she can say it atop one of the most venerated you know, um, um, newsrooms, if you will, in history.
right.
Now she's talking about, maybe we should bring Brett Barr from Fox News over and let him do the evening news.
Right.
Now they're talking about Anderson Cooper. Which one do you think's going to get the job? I'll be surprised. Hey, if it's Anderson Cooper, more power to him. Brett Baer, again, cleanest dirty shirt at Fox News, right?
No,
Okay.
no, that's
Oh no,
Tucker
you're
Carlson.
right. You're right. I take that back. As soon as I said it, I thought about bless her heart. How does she do it?
I she talked to a little group that I was part of last year as part of this democracy group of podcasts, and she works her ass off to be prepared.
Oh, she has to.
She is doing research all the time, but she believes, and this is really very fair, that the way they do it on Fox, yes, it's a lot of bullshit. And she's there to like clear up some of the bullshit. But everybody who watches Fox, not me, knows the names of those five's kids,
Absolutely.
knows who they are, knows a little bit. And then it's a more parasocial relationship as opposed to something that's, got a wall between them. And I
Hmm.
think that's really fair. And I think we're starting to get that here on Substack, but we don't know how to do that effectively. Like, we don't know how to engage people in their belly buttons and not just in their heads.
Hmm. So I try. That's why, I mean, my approach, which, obviously started with writing, if, it took me a minute to kind of find my groove of how I want to, I'm a storyteller. I've been one since I was a little kid.
Oh, let me just say, on Substack, I think we can, but as a big, like, pro-democracy
Oh yeah, I'm with
dens
you.
or whatever,
But I think part of the problem is there are people that are doing that here, but there are no Mark Andreessens, and God forbid a billionaire approach me. I'd probably have to say yeah, but I wouldn't like it.
well, it's a Reid Hoffman,
But that's what I mentioned him specifically the other day. He's a LinkedIn guy. Why? Where? My question the other day was, where are all the good billionaires? Where are they at?
Well, there are only a couple, but I interviewed the guy who made the decisions on where to put his money a couple of years
Hmm.
ago before the last midterms, and they're really, really, really short-sighted. At least this guy was. Like, what
They're
does
not
he want the
talking to
country to
people
look like?
like us. I mean, okay, so here I am, black guy, used to work on Wall Street for a long time, and I'm progressive. There's not a lot of folks like that. I mean, call me a unicorn, right? And so I don't think I have ever been approached. Well, I know I haven't by anybody in the sort of, the democratic intelligentsia, whatever. And look, they may not even know about me. They probably don't, but they're not looking hard.
No, they're not.
They're not
No.
looking hard at all.
I don't
I
think that
mean,
they even pay to so someone I know is in
D,
the
I like
establishment.
that. The black unicorn.
A black unicorn, right.
I like that, D. Thank you. You might see that again.
Yeah. So someone I know well is he's a PR guy, but he's in like the establishment mode inside the Beltway, worked on Capitol Hill for a really, really long time. And they don't even know that the grassroots or people out here exist. They have this idea, oh, what did we find in the midterms? We have no power now. And I'm like, but fight. There's so many people out here who are. Oh, he called me up and he said it would be a great idea if you wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post calling the Trump administration the regime. I was like, I've been doing that for
Been calling them that for years.
years.
Oh man. See, I'll never get that kind of call. I'm just off the grid.
Yeah,
Well, we all are.
yeah.
But that is, to me, you can hate the player, but you got to respect the game. Republicans, th- I can go to a city council meeting and the dog catcher is on the Republican talking points.
And
And I'm in North Carolina. These guys, they're doing a good job on a certain level. Just keeping the state sort of in play. But come on, I've got a 22-year-old daughter and a 20 soon to be 21-year-old son. And the, Chuck Schumer, they don't even know who he is. They only know what they know about politics because of me, really.
That's my
Um,
18-year-old.
and
Same.
they're not. There's nobody reaching out to them. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take, and that's why I think we just got to quit waiting on them. Just like with Substack, which we kind of were talking about. My conclusion is that, and here's why it's crazy. So you got Andreessen behind Substack, and he's not the only venture capital guy, but it's safe to assume that it's like-minded folks in varying degrees, and they've built this platform which is really great. There's I don't know that there look, people can go to Beehive, I suppose, if all you want to do is write and you don't care about a podcast or any of that stuff. But what is causing the recent growth? I'm talking about revenues in Substack right now. You know what it is? It's Democrats, left leaning people
Of
who
course.
said,
Yeah.
fuck MSNBC. I'm sorry.
No, you can
who
say it if you want. Yeah.
but I'm done with it. And I don't like Twitter, and Blue Sky is too slow. And here they come. And this year, Substack's growth has gone from, I think last year was 2 million paid subscribers. They're getting 10% all of that. In February, if I can talk, it was 3 million. This summer, it was 5 million.
Right.
It's just going like that. And so that is what, and you just match it up. And during that time frame, what has happened? Joy Reid, Jim Acosta. So they've dragged an audience over here. But the problem for us is they're just following the people they already knew about.
Right. So they kind of
Yeah.
um
So,
the way
so
we're trying to build a community, they have one, but with the higher
well, it's
level stuff.
like to me, I liken it to this was our neighborhood, and we just got a whole bunch of rich neighbors, and they won't speak to us. They're the new guys. And we were here, and it's like, yeah, they just sit over there in the corner. They have their own little parties and go on each other's shows and do all, and they won't talk to us. I've DM'd several of them, and without expectation of a response. Maybe this will. I'll get a response, but it may not be the one the one I want. But yeah, it's and so it's really insular.
Yeah.
And oh, the person at Substack that reached out to me that time actually said, these people are dying to talk to you. They're dying to have you on their shows. And I'm like, really? Oh, we're actually working on, who do you want to meet? We'll make introductions. And I said, look, I'm not talking to you for you to do me a favor that I will owe you for. I'm talking to you so you will help me build my platform like you're helping those people who already have a platform. That's all I want. I don't want to be invited to the party, although I will show up if you invite me. But that's not why I'm saying this stuff. I'm saying, and I say and what I'm talking about is all of us that have been here and built a thing. I never thought I'd get 14,000 subscribers, and even less that people would pay to hear my bullshit. But okay, they're doing it, and so that's just organic.
Right. But
What?
but those other guys get funded, and all the people on the right get funded. And
Yes, they do.
this is hard, you probably have way more subscribers than I do. I
Look, I mean, that's
so I
not
don't
like
really
a humble brag. I'm just saying, because I believe if I'm going to criticize, I'm going to put all my shit out there, and maybe it's great, maybe it's not. But all I know is this: 5 years ago, okay, George Floyd protests.
right.
I was still on Twitter pretty heavily. I had started the newsletter, but it was kind of just, all the folks in my contacts. But I did find out how many of them love Trump real quick. And I posted something on Twitter. Actually, I reposted it the other day about Colin Kaepernick. It
So
was
you're
kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess Colin Kaepernick was right. And it got like 1 million likes. The next thing I know, I'm sitting up in my house during COVID. A lady, a reporter from ABC Australia reaches out to me, wants to interview me because she's looked me up. And so I do that. Anyway, the next thing I know, I get this little spike in subscribers on Substack, which got me up to like 1,000 people. And then, so what? That's 2020.
right.
And so from there, and I'm writing something, but I've posted it before, but it's fascinating to me. If you look at like the chart of my newsletter, there's this, whoop, and that's the Colin Kaepernick email, and then the rest is just sort of like that.
And then is
2000,
there a I get one I have one about this
2021, 22, 23 until I don't know, April 23 is when notes came out. And then it's just because if you're just depending on emails, only the people whose emails you have are going to even know about you, right?
right,
And
I'm
maybe they
trying to
tell a
get
friend or two or three. And
or the
so
big people, yeah.
my growth was just like that. And then I got on notes and it's so
It's because
this
he's so
article I'm
smart.
writing, I think sort of the working title is the Substack growth machine. So it is that. So think of what your newsletter's worth. If Barry Weiss's newsletter is worth half of what they say, so 75 million, there are metrics that we can use to figure out our audience, our subscribers, what that's worth. And it's probably six figures, and we're not even getting real help. I guarantee it's six figures.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
you're
I'm making $5,000 a year.
that was me last year. And then this year, I'll probably make a little more than that, but not a lot more. And that doesn't even include, you got the cost of processing and Substack takes their money and so on. But to me, the point is the Barry Weiss thing, I was mad about it for a minute, but then the old capitalist
Capitalist.
freaking trader came in, and I'm like, hang on a second. She just sort of told us what our businesses are worth or
Mhm.
could be worth. Why wouldn't MSNBC help a bunch of us?
Mm.
They're not thinking. They're not thinking right.
They're not thinking and there are organizations that do this, but like Chorus, and Wired did a report on them that was complete bullshit. It was a hit piece
Mm.
on remember they said
I
that
remembered. I didn't read it, and I didn't know much about who they were talking about, but
so
I
I
do
had one of
remember.
the founders on before that, so I already knew that they were just trying to build a network and to give
Yeah, I
smaller
saw something on TikTok, I think, about that.
yeah. Yeah, and Wired is doing great,
Yeah.
um, political coverage. It was a hit piece, and it was wrong it was just full of bullshit about how, this group
Was this
was
the one that was saying they were told kind of what they could write about
yeah,
and what they, yeah. And that's the kind of the fear for guys like me is I want to be unbound. I just want if I were gonna, because I always say, hey, I don't do advertising, I don't take any money from anybody, but we're in a real different game than when I started 5 years ago, right? And we can now see if the right, whatever you think about. I mean, look at this. Mark Andreessen has built this platform, and right now, most of his money is coming from the left. That is like so upside down, isn't it? You got this far right guy helping this platform, and what's really blowing it up right now is Jim Acosta, Joy Reid, and Don Lemon.
you know, I think so what a bunch of people and sort of how I started kind of vamping my thinking, Nick Perro and Lawrence Winterman and
Hmm.
Melissa Corrigan, so the Banner and Backbone guy and the Gen XC people are all starting to do shows and bring in and Walter Ryan um and it's becoming
Walter Ryan and I knew each other from Medium. When I started writing, I actually started my news. Well, it wasn't really a newsletter. I just started writing articles. And I'll tell you who else. Ahmed Baba had this publication. It was like, well, I guess it still exists, Rant Media. And the first couple of stories that I wrote were, kind of finance sort of stuff, what I thought about whatever Trump was doing at the time. And he actually published my stuff on their newsletter, which was on Medium. So anyway, I interrupted you. Go on.
well, my basic point is that we are building a community, and absent the kind of investment that there really should be, getting together with other like-minded people and getting to know each other offline, getting
Hmm.
to be on each other's shows, people see different sides of us, they bring in new people. I think that that's the it, it's seems a little consolation pricey, but on the other hand, what are we trying to do to be what do they say always is the only thing that beats fascism? It's community and solidarity and joy, and the fact that, we're laughing in here, um, matters, right?
Yes.
And that we're having fun and people are sticking with us, and, um, you know, it is kind of the really, I don't know, brass lining of a crappy cloud, but, 'cause I do think we should all be funded, um, uh, but I think it's pushed us to try to make this a real community, and the more people that we can get into this kind of community, the better off we all will
I,
be.
I agree. I agree. It's and to me, the organic thing, and it may be a pipe dream, probably is, but man, it would be so great if, you know, folks like us and others that we've talked about, even if it was just a sort of a collective of, folks. I used to, well, I say used to, I'm still affiliated, I suppose. But on Medium, there's a woman who's actually now on this platform, and she started this group called Writers and Editors of Color, which was just same thing. I mean, except we were on Medium, we were all writers, different, pretty much politically aligned, um, because, and I don't know, folks that haven't spent time on Medium, and I don't know how it is now. I pretty much stopped writing there, but
It's
there was a
unproductive.
there was a whole lot of um, just kind of racist stuff going on there. I mean, now you could, it wasn't just racism, it was plagiarism, just straight up, where folks would cut and paste your stuff and that's their article, just crazy stuff. And then Medium got it just got difficult to figure out how you're getting paid, right? It's kind of like, I guess, like if you're a musician on a streaming service. I heard Snoop Dogg say he couldn't figure out his money, and I'm like, "Woo!" If Snoop Dogg can't figure out his money, on Spotify, my kid that wants to post a song is just forget about it.
Right.
Do something else.
Did you do the intermediate step of trying to go on Patreon for 5 minutes and realize that
Um, I've got, yeah, that's too much work. I mean,
yeah, it was too much work,
it's
actually.
just a lot of work to keep up with. I've got a GoFund, not GoFundMe, but Buy Me a Coffee. Maybe I should have a GoFundMe
Oh,
link
yeah.
to, but I tell people about it, but you got to put a button in there and customize it, and I'm just lazy, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what I am doing, though, I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I'm going to, I think, sort of elevate my YouTube presence because there's a platform that'll allow you to sort of simulcast
yeah. There are
that
a bunch
people
of
like. Yeah, there are a bunch of them. And so, just because, like you said earlier, a lot of folks don't want to pay Substack, and I
Right.
understand why. Um, so I'm trying to, sort of come up with some alternatives. And I think, but then you got to be on YouTube. We can't get away from these oligarchs now. Let me tell
No.
you.
And so I've been on YouTube for a while. I've done nothing to promote it. It's just been like a repository mostly.
Hmm.
People see it, if I put shorts up, sometimes I get the algorithm to get, 2,000 views or something, but the comments are disgusting.
Oh, yeah. So I have gotten where I regularly watch Danielle Moody's YouTube channel. She's very good. I've been lucky to have her on. In fact, I think I'm going to be on with her on here in a couple of days. Mm. But I watch her, and she's got enough subscribers now that people can chip in money. You have to get there's some formula of how you get permission like that. So I'd be starting from scratch, but um, I would still do the same thing I'm doing here. It just would originate on YouTube and get simulcasted to Substack, I guess, and maybe LinkedIn and
Yeah, they're starting with LinkedIn, like,
God forbid Facebook, you know. Maybe
Face
Reed Hoffman will see me. You never know.
you never know. I think Facebook only exists because people's kids have grandparents on there.
Listen, the only reason I'm on Facebook, well, there are two. My wife and I have a little side business, and when we're gonna do like we do these little pop-up events, you know, and you post it in a group on Facebook so everybody will know. And then people I went to college and elementary school or whatever with, I'm friends with them. But man, it's I have to force myself to use it, really.
Okay.
It's a pit.
It is, and y if you don't go on very often and you only use it for specific things, it doesn't have to feel like a pit, but
Mhm.
it's also doesn't feel very useful. I mean, the only
Every time I go on there, that and Instagram. I probably I have trained the Instagram algorithm to show me what I wanna see,
Yes.
right? So I don't get a lot of the whatever the crazy stuff is. But I do find a lot of videos there, and even TikTok, I've started using it. TikTok to
That
me is so much easier to use than
and it has a better algorithm, and it will steal your attention, like,
it does, because I'm on there sometimes trying to put my stuff, and then I see something 2 hours later.
"Ah,
You know?
that's why I got off." Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something. But, you know, which raises another story about just the whole TikTok thing and what's going on with that, sale, I guess, if you wanna call it that. I don't know if you have
The
thoughts about.
corruption is deep and wide, and that's a whole other conversation that I would be happy to have, but
We
yes.
only got so much time. Yeah, yeah, John, there's a grift going on, but there's also what I've been looking at is who's gonna really own TikTok? And see, one of the guys that we don't hear spoken about, like in the vein of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and so on, is this guy named Jeff Yass. Jeff Yass is the wealthiest man in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's worth close to 70 billion.
Okay. Just
But
peanuts
he
then.
he made the reason I know about him is because of a company called Susquehanna Investment Group that he started, which is in Pennsylvania. And Susquehanna invested in TikTok like when it was not, I mean, not tip, they didn't invest in TikTok. They invested in ByteDance, which owns TikTok. So Susquehanna has an ownership interest in that entity. And so does Jeff Yass, I believe, personally. And I wrote something earlier this year just kind of talking about it. And the valuation of their ownership is worth like at the time 300 billion. Okay. So now we're breaking up this entity. So who? There's this investor group. I don't remember everybody in it. I'm going to write something at some point, but it's Susquehanna. This is the group that's snatching it away from the Chinese, right? So it's Susquehanna, it's Larry Ellison, and so on.
Right.
But the group that will own the algorithm or the part that's left, and well, Jeff Yass and Susquehanna are on that side too. So they're going to get paid twice, it looks like. I mean, we'll know for sure once the all the paperwork comes out, but it's not even a grift, really. It's just like robber baron shit. It's Standard Oil kind of, where they're just going to own this shit whichever way you go, you're paying them. And by the way, Susquehanna is one of the biggest um, trading firms in the world. That's how I know about them. I used to try to do business with them. They would not take my calls.
All right,
Sorry to throw something out there, but yeah, that's the kind of shit that I like to
well, I don't know
get
anyone
into.
there. So
Oh, good.
so what I'm gonna wrap this up because we're near the top of the hour. I've been asking people, okay, so eventually we're gonna get to the end of this fascist moment. It, in my opinion, will take generations,
Uh,
at least decades, but we will get there. When we do, we'll have to have some radically creative, innovative, imaginative ideas on how to build what's next. Do you have any thoughts on what might be you thinking like as big as you can on what you would do if you got to say part of what?
if I had to say, immediately expand the Supreme Court.
Mhm.
Um, how about have some laws instead of norms?
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, you do those two things. See, I've had people respond to that first comment by saying, well, yeah, the Republicans will just do the same thing. Good. Because the more people that are on the Supreme Court, the more diluted any one individual's,
Mhm.
you know, ideology is,
Mhm.
right? Have I mean, look at the lower level courts, where you have like the 12th Circuit or whichever one, when you work up there, you get three guys. And then if you don't like the decision, you ask, we want all of the guys. And it's like 2 dozen judges or whatever. So why not do the Supreme Court the same way? I mean, that is, God love him. Joe Biden did a lot of good stuff, but man, he left a whole lot of meat on the bone.
Yeah, he really did.
Merrick Garland, come on.
I know.
That hurt us. And there was, he begrudgingly put together this commission to study the Supreme Court and what we should do. And there were two or three people that said you need to expand it. And he just kind of, we're not
Right.
doing that.
Right.
Um, we just got to, on this side of the fence, realize that we're not in a knife fight. We're in a nuclear war.
Right. That is
That's it, right?
that's the truth. And
That's
we
all the
can't
game.
show up with a pocket knife.
We show up with, stridently worded letters. And these guys are sitting over there laughing like, we just got another letter. Throw it in the trash.
That's right. So let me tell you what the people that I've already talked to have said, just so people can sort of start, um, socializing these ideas. One is nationalize the oil companies.
Woo! Now you're getting socialist.
Right. Because, like, why should a few people only get the
Or
fruit of the
stop
land
subsidizing them
or stop subsidizing them?
like
Number
we just did the
two,
EV industry.
yeah. Number two is a national service for young people coming out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be military, could be military, doesn't matter,
Peace
but
Corps.
you have to do it. Peace Corps. But here, and I know we have AmeriCorps, but whatever, mandatory. And third is restitution for African Americans. Those were the top 3 he came up with.
Wow, those are the top 3, really. I'm encouraged by that. Those are all good. I have no argument
No, I
against
think
any of those things
I
because
think, yeah, we have to think bigger.
some years ago, I guess it was after 9/11, my wife said something interesting I hadn't thought about, just kinda to the national service thing, and it was, George Bush was telling us, "Get out there and go shopping again," and she made the comment that the government isn't really asking us to do anything. A lot of people joined the military, in response to 9/11, but the government didn't say we all need to come together behind whatever a national service thing. Like in the 60s, we had the space race and all these things. And, I'm old enough to remember when everybody was behind, we got to get to the moon. We
Right,
don't really have a thing that we're all, you know, um, on board with. And that's why look at where we are, right?
right. I mean, we were there when we were trying to get to the moon too. It was just underground a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think, but having that thing took everybody's focus off of how much they hated each other. Right? Yeah, we still had Jim Crow, but it went down maybe a little easier, I guess, because
Yeah,
we
for
were all
sure.
thinking about the moon.
Right.
What's that song? Whitey landed on the moon, or Whitey's going to the moon. It's this guy, Gil Scott Heron. I actually, I'll stop. No,
No, you're not
it's
gonna sing
if
for
if
us?
if people oh, it's no, the thing about Gil Scott Heron is he is really one of if you hear his music, it's almost rap. He talks. He sings every once in a while, but it's really spoken word, deep, deep, you know, socially radical stuff. And the music is like really good, like jazz kind of. So yeah, I'm gonna post some Gil Scott Heron when we get off. So
That would
you
be
you should know this. You should know this guy. He was ahead of his time for real.
I will definitely look at it. So, it's at top of the hour. I'm sure everybody knows how to find you, but tell
No,
people.
they don't. So I am, the Journeyman newsletter. If you're online and looking, it's the journeyman.substack.com because I'm not paying for a, special, web URL. And as Stephanie said, I write about the intersection of politics, the economy, and anti-black racism, and I tell a lot of stories too to kind of make it go down a little easier.
I my deepest gut belief is the storytellers are gonna be what's gonna get us through.
I hope so.
So everyone, thank you so much. If you haven't
Thank you,
subscribed
Stephanie.
to us,
I
thank you,
appreciate
Marlon.
it so much.
I hope we find a chance or a way to talk again.
We will say the
And
word.
absolutely. And everybody, make sure you subscribe to both of us. And it was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.